talk a little bit about these syntactic island judgments, right? Again, our behavioral target outcome that we can measure. So adult knowledge as measured by acceptability judgment behavior. And so Sprouse and colleagues in 2012 used magnitude estimation judgments. And they set up their stimuli to have a factorial definition that controlled for two salient properties of island crossing dependencies. So one is the length of the dependency. Is it a dependency that spans just the matrix clause? Or is it a longer dependency that spans into an embedded clause, in particular a tensed CP, a tensed embedded clause, right? So the length matrix versus embedded, that's one property. And another is the presence or absence of an island structure. So you can have a dependency that sort of somewhere in the utterance, you'll see this later, but somewhere in the utterance there is a non-island structure, or somewhere in the utterance there is an island structure, okay? Period, right? Just in the utterance at all, whether or not the dependency is crossing it, right? We're just talking about the presence or the absence, non-island, island, in the utterance itself, okay? So let's see how this works. We're going to focus first on complex MP island stimuli. So here we have a matrix dependency and a non-island structure in the utterance. Who, there's our dependency there, claimed that Lily forgot the necklace. Now we can turn that into an embedded dependency, but still keep that same non-island structure. So what did the teacher claim that Lily forgot? So now it's an embedded dependency. Now we can go back to having a matrix dependency, but now we have an island structure just in the utterance. Okay, so who, there's our dependency, who made the claim that Lily forgot the necklace? There's our island structure. And now finally, if we make that into an embedded dependency, it's going to be inside that island structure, right? But what did the teacher make the claim that Lily forgot, right? So embedded dependency, island structure present. Okay, and we can do this for each of the 4 island types I showed you before. So this is for complex MP. And we can do it for subject islands just as well. So we have our matrix dependency with a non-island structure. Who thinks the necklace is expensive? We can turn that into an embedded dependency. What does Jack think is expensive? Now we can go back to having a matrix dependency, but now we have our island structure later on in the utterance. Who thinks the necklace for Lily is expensive? And then we can finally have it as an embedded dependency, right? Who does Jack think the necklace for is expensive? And that's our island crossing one. Right, you can see right there it's crossing the island. And of course we can do this for weather island stimuli. So who thinks that Jack stole the necklace is our matrix dependency with a non-island structure in it. We can turn that into an embedded dependency, the non-island structure. What does the teacher think that Jack stole? We can go back to having it as a matrix dependency, but now we have our island structure. It's our weather island structure. Who wonders whether Jack stole the necklace? And of course we can then turn that into an embedded dependency. What does the teacher wonder whether Jack stole? And finally, we can do the very same thing with the adjunct island stimuli. So we have our matrix dependency with a non-island structure. In fact, the very same non-island structure we just saw. So who thinks that Lily forgot the necklace? Turn that into an embedded dependency. What does the teacher think that Lily forgot? So now the island structure for an adjunct stimulus is going to be if Lily forgot the necklace. So okay, who worries if Lily forgot the necklace? And we can turn that into an embedded dependency. What does the teacher worry if Lily forgot, right? So you can see how we're factorially varying, right, these two properties for all 4 of our island types. Now, the judgments that we get from these are what we're interested in. So syntactic island, or knowledge of a syntactic island, is going to show up as a super additive interaction of the 2 factors. That is the additional unacceptability, the super additive, add up pieces, and it's additional, super additive, that arises when the 2 factors, length of the dependency and presence of an island structure in the utterance, are combined. And it's going to be above and beyond the independent contribution of each factor. So let me just show you how that works, just very, very briefly. Right, so here we have is an interaction plot on the x-axis, our length, so matrix versus embedded. And then on the y-axis, we have an utterance with a non-island structure versus an utterance with an island structure, right? And up here we have z-score ratings, right? So these are acceptability judgments from humans. And if we start here, this is our matrix dependency with no island structure. And we like it, this much. So, higher scores are, it's more acceptable, right? We find it this acceptable. Now, if we just have an island structure there, right? Still have a matrix dependency, we just have an island structure in the utterance somewhere, we just kind of like it a little bit less, right? We lose that much of acceptability. Okay, if we start back again with our non-island structure matrix, and we just make it an embedded dependency, right? Still non-island structure, we just like it a little bit less. You can see it drop from here to here, right? Okay, so now if we then make it an island structure is present, we should lose this much. And if we have an embedded dependency, we should lose this much. That would be additive, right? We add this part, this difference, and this difference. So that would get us to about here. And as you can see, we like the embedded one that has an island structure in it quite a lot less, right? This is the additional unacceptability that we're seeing, right? The super additive interaction. And as you just at a glance can see visually, this shows up as non-parallel lines in your interaction plot. So at a glance, you can tell immediately, right, if you have that super additive interaction, right? And we're going to contrast that with no additional unacceptability, where you just like it as much less as you would expect. You like it less because there is an island structure, you like it less because it's an embedded dependency, and when you add those together, you go from here to here, you end up with parallel lines because there's no additional unacceptability when you have an embedded structure, an embedded dependency, an island structure. Crossing that island structure doesn't cause any additional unacceptability, right? Okay, so what Sprouse and colleagues found when they tested 173 adult subjects was super additivity for all 4 island types, right? You can again see at a glance these non-parallel lines. Boop, every single one has super additivity. Fantastic. So this is what tells us that adults have knowledge that dependencies can't cross these island structures. They are extra bad. This is our measurable outcome, right? This is the judgment pattern we want to show that you have adult-like syntactic island knowledge.